The United stand. This is our Manchester United versus Chelsea preview for the FA Cup semi-final. But it is more than that. We will be talking about a big transfer update for Jadon Sancho coming in from Tier 1 journalist Simon Stone, who works for the BBC. We'll be talking about that as well. And look, you know what? Premier League show this afternoon in the studio with Flex. Felt good, didn't it? Felt good to be back in the studio. Felt good to be talking about the situation that Manchester United are in. But West Ham are currently beating Watford 2-0 with 10 minutes gone. This is a good result for Manchester United. If West Ham win, they basically stay up. They're 6 points clear of Bournemouth and Villa with a better goal difference. They're going to stay up, and that Manchester United game becomes less of a we've got to win, we've got to win, we've got to win, whatever. It does. So that's a good thing for Manchester United that West Ham are winning. But let's get into the Jadon Sancho story first, and then we will talk about Manchester United and the game against Chelsea, of course. So the situation is this, that they are, Simon Stone has said that Manchester United are, sorry, wait a minute, open sound settings, nice properties, it is a bit low, you're right, let me just turn the audio, that's really annoying, right, I'm late tonight because of numerous issues. And now the audio's low, which it shouldn't be anymore. Just bought a United stand jumper on Kit Locker. It looks great, says you in black. And United to finish 5th and we win the FA Cup and Europa, or finish 3rd and no trophy, says I'm not doing that. Up, I'm not. We're at the start of the video. Don't chuck me stupid hypotheticals about Europa League and 5th or FA Cup and you win a McDonald's. What? I want top 4. That's all. I'm not arguing about anything else. I want top 4. I couldn't give 2 shits about the FA Cup. I've said it many times before. Or the Europa League, I want top 4. That's what I'm going for, and then I want to win the FA Cup, and then I want to win the Europa League. So if that was your options, then there you go. So look, Simon Stone is coming out talking about Borussia Dortmund and Jadon Sancho. This is a tier 1, and what I would say about people like Simon Stone and Simon Peaches, they're not like Romano or anyone like that. They're not. I don't really ever think that they're very early when it comes to transfer news. But what I do think is that they are very accurate when they talk about transfer news, and they wait and they don't put things out unless it is accurate. So what he's saying is that Borussia Dortmund are adamant that they do not want to lower their transfer fee of Jadon Sancho, which is £100 million. Jadon Sancho is on £190,000 a week at Borussia Dortmund, with 2 years left on his contract, and Dortmund feel that puts them in a very strong position. However, Manchester United want to do this deal, and there isn't a £50 million ceiling, which had been mentioned a couple of weeks ago, which obviously was a load of nonsense. So, does that add anything to the story? For me, it adds some clarity, because, some outlets you don't know whether they're true or they're not. But I would say this, that Manchester United, when Simon Stone's talking about Jadon Sancho and feels he needs to write a story about it, that only enhances my excitement that Manchester United are in for Jadon Sancho, for one. For two, we've not even started negotiating yet. And this does not worry me at all. Have Manchester United got £100 million for Jadon Sancho? I don't think so. And it even says in Simon Stone's article that Dortmund are reluctant to take a lower offer with more add-ons in it. Well, look, the big thing that people don't realise here is that Manchester United and Jadon Sancho, as per Fabrizio Romano, as per people I've spoken to, Jadon Sancho wants to come to Manchester United, and Manchester United want Jadon Sancho. That's very important. Sancho wants to leave Dortmund. Manchester United want Jadon Sancho. Dortmund can feel that they're in a strong position, and Dortmund can want £100 million. That is their right. But the player doesn't want to be there. Or does he? That's the big thing. Is Sancho adamant that he wants to leave, that he'll push for a move? Or is Sancho happy to stay at Dortmund for another year? If Sancho is like, you know what, if you pay the money for him, pay the money for me, I'm happy to go. But if you don't, I'm happy to stay. Then that's more significant than Dortmund saying, we want £100 million. Because if Sancho wants to go, that price will have to move. And the price should move anyway. £100 million in this market is not right. 85 million is what he should be going for in this market. Dortmund wanting £100 million when we've been through one of the biggest crippling viruses that we've seen in decades, and them to sit there and go, we want £100 million. Well, I tell you what, I think that's wrong. I think that's wrong. And I think what that is actually, you can flip it another way if this is true and say, it's unfair on Jadon Sancho. They bought him for nothing, virtually nothing. I think they bought him for £10 million. He's delivered. He's been one of their best players over the years that he's been there, and you want to increase his value by 10 times when he wants to leave your club, when he's been fantastic for you, when he's delivered for you, and there's been this global coronavirus, and you're going to sit there and say, we're not lowering the price. We're not going to respect the fact that that player's done a good job for us and it's time for him to go. We're actually going to hold him to ransom and keep him at the club. I don't think that's going to end well for Dortmund. So I'm not worried about the stance that they want to take. I'm not worried about the wanting the £100 million. I think to me, it's just the start of negotiations, and that's what we're going to see. Hi Mark, just wondering how you made your background. It looks clean. Drawty did it for us, All United. And top 4 Champions League and more money from sponsors and better players first on the bench as Christopher Matthews. And welcome to Jack Mitten, the latest member of the United Stand Members Club. And just to tell you, the t-shirt I'm wearing is a Bruno t-shirt. If you roll down the video now, you don't need to go to a website to buy United Stand t-shirts because they're all under YouTube videos now. You can get them by clicking along. You can see them all. They are all in different colours. The Martial one's there, the Bruno one's there, so you can get them below if you want to get one. They do ship worldwide as well. So, Sancho update from Simon Stone is done, and my summary of this is that Dortmund may want £100 million, but we've not even started negotiating yet. And Sporting Lisbon wanted 60 million for, I think they wanted 70 million, somebody said at one point, but they definitely wanted 60 million for Bruno. We paid 47 with add-ons, so I see this happening. If the player wants to move like Bruno wanted, and look, Bruno loved Sporting Lisbon, but it was time to move, and he got his move. Hey Mark, I know we talk a lot about Sancho, but who do you believe the ideal CDM we need to get back up to the top of the league, says Josiah? I don't know. I don't know. I don't think there is an obvious centre defensive midfielder to go and get, to be honest. But what there is, look at this for a transition. What there is an obvious game on Sunday against Chelsea. I will be live tomorrow morning at about 11:15 with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's press conference reaction. So we are doing this a bit blind, but I think we'll be doing it blind anyway. That's the team I would pick against Chelsea. This is going to be very interesting. Chelsea on Sunday, FA Cup semi-final, Sunday evening. Obviously, we'll have the watch-along, the match reaction, the fan cams, the player ratings, and all that jazz that you normally get on this channel. But what do we think about this game? What do we think about this game? Where do we rank this game? I think United will beat West Ham next Wednesday, regardless of what team we put out against Chelsea. But can you play Thursday, Sunday, Wednesday, Sunday in 4 cup finals? We've done Palace. We looked a bit tired. Chelsea's going to be a big game. West Ham's a big game. And then that Leicester game, we probably need to win. I think you've got to rest some players. It's the least important game, even though it's an FA Cup semi-final against a big rival. It's the least important game. Are you going to run 11 players into the ground for the next however many games? I think if you trust these players, and it's still ringing in my ears, Agarlo's fantastic. He's absolutely brilliant. I trust him. Oh, Scotty. Oh, Fred. Oh, Brandon Williams. Oh, Dan James. I'm sorry. Look, there's definitely a risk. Those 5 players have got to come into that team because I trust those players as well. They may not have all of them played that well this last few weeks, but I think Agarlo's done well when he's come on. I think Brandon Williams has done well when he's come on. All right, McTominay, Fred, and James not so much so, but he's got to bring them 5 players in because Chelsea going to pick a strong team against us on Sunday when they've got a massive game against Liverpool on the Wednesday, and Liverpool have got a week off, remember? So I think that Manchester United need to approach this in a clever way. Welcome to Darcy Harrison and welcome to PC Regal, latest members of the United Stand Members Club. So yeah, look, that team on the left, Romero's going to play in goal because it's the Cup and De Gea won't play. I think Eric Bailly's got to play and you've got to rest one of your centre-backs. He never rests Maguire, so Maguire will play and I think Lindelof will get rested. Luke Shaw, we just want him back for West Ham and Leicester, so don't play Luke Shaw if Brandon's fit. Play Brandon Williams. If neither are fit, obviously maybe play Fosu Mensah or Dalot. I think he will play Wan-Bissaka. I think Chelsea have got good wingers and I think he will play Wan-Bissaka. Fred and McTominay come in for Pogba and Matic. I mean, look, I love Pogba and I love Matic, but that's got to happen. They've got to play Fred and McTominay in this game. Otherwise, what's the point in having Fred and McTominay? If you can't trust Fred and McTominay to play in a cup game, to give your first teamers a rest, we're not building a squad. You may as well sell them and bring players in that you do trust. They've got to be trusted. Whether they're playing well or not, they've got to be trusted in a game like this. You can't just keep playing Matic and Pogba. They can't. They've got to be rested in this game for me. So Fred and McTominay come in. I think he will play Bruno. I've seen Bruno at Sporting Lisbon play Sunday, Wednesday, Sunday, Wednesday, Sunday, Wednesday. So I think Bruno will be fine, and I think he will play him. Although Pereira and Dan James were not on the bench at all on Thursday, and I wondered if that was because they'd been promised starts at the weekend. I don't know about that. So I think Dan James plays on the right. I think Rashford will play. Maybe Rashford shouldn't play, but I think Rashford will play. And I think Agallo should play up front. And that team there, that's not a team that I think will get beat 4-0 by Chelsea. I mean, Chelsea, they haven't got Werner. They haven't got Ziyech. They haven't got the players yet to be fearful of. And Chelsea, I don't think, are playing particularly well. And I think they're vulnerable at the back. I think that Manchester United team there can do a job. And if it doesn't do a job, is it the end of the world? Do I need to see Matic, Pogba, Martial, Greenwood, Luke Shaw, Lindelof, the first 11? Do I need to see that team starting against Chelsea on Sunday? And the answer is I don't. I don't need to see it. I don't want to see it. But what I would say is that's what I would do. That's what some of you would do. It's not necessarily what Ollie will do. As we know with Ollie, he has this... some people said this weakness, but he certainly has this thing of picking a strong team in the cup. And I think that he may well go strong in the cup again. I personally wouldn't. And I would give players a rest. But how will Chelsea approach this game? I don't know. I mean, Kante is injured anyway. They don't have an amazing array of depth. And they've got a very important game against Liverpool. What I would say about Chelsea is you can pretty much read the way that Chelsea will play again. I mean, look, we did play a back five against Chelsea as well. We have played a back five against Chelsea. Will he play a back five against Chelsea? If he plays a back five against Chelsea, he's going to have to play Lindelof and Maguire, which I think is a mistake. So I would stay with the four. I mean, the formation could change. As I said, we've played a back five against Chelsea this season, so we could do that again. Chelsea could play a back five themselves. They could play a four. It's very hard to know what Chelsea's formation is going to be. But what you do know about Chelsea is they are a team that likes to move the ball on the ground. They are a team that likes to move the ball quickly. And they are a team that likes to use the flanks. And whether that's Willian and Pulisic or it's Hudson-Odoi and Pedro, I don't know which way he's going to go. But I would, if I was Ollie, I would assume that Lampard's not going to go with his strongest team. And I wouldn't go with it either. It's a massive week. It's such a big week because... on Sunday night at 8 o'clock or whenever the game finishes, Lampard might be there going, yeah, I beat Ollie 3-0. A week later, we could be going there, yeah, we're in the Champions League, you're not. What's more important? And then Chelsea will probably get beat by Man City in the final anyway. Yes, Man City will beat Arsenal. Let's not pretend. I know it's the magic of the FA Cup, but this ain't Harry Potter time. There's not going to be that sort of magic. So, I think that, look, I just think that we don't go strong. I've been a big advocate of us picking our strongest team, but picking the strongest team in the Premier League is very important. No, look, as well, let's be absolutely honest here. Against Southampton, we weren't that good. Against Crystal Palace, we weren't that good. Do the players just need a bit of a brain reset anyway? Do they need a little bit of a gap? I think it would do the team the world of good to not start their best 11 against Chelsea. So it's like a different mentality when you go into the West Ham game and you go back to picking that 11. So that's what I do. I mean, West Ham are winning 3-0 up apparently, says Philip Parr. So this is a very good performance from West Ham, and it certainly gives us a little bit more confidence going into Wednesday, which we would have anyway. Look, we're at Old Trafford, we're playing against West Ham, we should be winning that game anyway, but West Ham boosting their goal difference, getting 3 points, West Ham are going to stay up, simple as that. So and I'm very happy to hear that West Ham are winning. I mean, look, if Watford go down, they go down. Brandon Williams' face still looks a bit of a mess. I'd like to see Fosu Mensah get the start at left back again if needed, says Sean C. I mean, yeah, let's move on to that next. I mean, stunning goal from Declan Rice, as always. We're not getting Declan Rice, by the way. The only chance of us getting Declan Rice was if they got relegated. Third time, can you please explain our Leeds rivalry, says Darshan. I mean, Darshan, why are you asking me about Leeds rivalry when I'm at the start of a preview talking about Jadon Sancho coming to Manchester United and previewing Chelsea? Why do you think it's a great time for me to... I'll tell you what, I'll tweet it later for you. Or at the end of this show, I might talk about it. But, I appreciate the comment, but look at the timing. We're actually moving through a show. That interaction's brilliant, but you've also got to go with the flow. I can't sit and tell you a story about Leeds rivalry right in the middle of talking about Chelsea, can I? I'm aware of what you said. I'll try and talk about it at the end. So, look, What do I feel about this Chelsea game? What's my score prediction? What's your score prediction? I think it'll be 2-1. I don't think Chelsea's scoring many goals at the moment, and I don't think if we make changes, United will score that many goals either. So I think it'll be a tight game. Maybe it'll be 1-0. Maybe it'll be 2-1. When it kicks off on Sunday, I'll want to win. That's what every Manchester United fan wants to do. I want to win. I want to be in the FA Cup final. I definitely do. I just want to do it with that team. I don't want to sacrifice our first 11 to do it. Because what if we did play our first 11 and then we lost? And then they're knackered on Wednesday? I think now is the time to trust in the wider squad. And if they don't deliver, we learn more about our wider squad. But imagine if that team on the left goes and beats Chelsea 2-1. Suddenly you're like, we've rested most of our team. These players have stepped up to the mark. We go into these last two games and the Europa League and we're buzzing. I think Ollie needs to motivate the wider squad. That's what needs to happen. And if he can't, it's a big reaffirmation to us that this is where one of Manchester United's big problems are, that we don't have that big wider squad. So, yeah, I think 2-1. I don't even know. I don't think I can predict who's going to win. I think 2-1 will be the score. I just don't know who's going to win in that one. Chelsea are getting Declan Rice, says Adan. Well, no, Chelsea aren't getting everybody, mate. They can't get Havertz, they can't get Werner, they can't get Ziyech, they can't get Chilwell, and they can't get Declan Rice. I mean, look, I know financial fair play's in the mud, but you can't do that. Also, what do you think about this game? What do you think about this game? Is it important to you? I'd be interested to know what people have got to say in the live comments, which actually keeps freezing for me. I tell you what, the problems I've had going live tonight. Bloody nightmare. 8:20 I go live. Massive problems. Not getting all the super chats coming through, so apologies about that. Daniel Luciano says, I'm happy we had the wake-up call of Southampton, which ended in a tie and then playing poorly and winning better. It happens now and then. Late. Rest them on Sunday. Leaf Hunter says, I'd prefer De Gea in goal for the game coming up, and same with Europa League. I just don't trust Romero. It's all about fairness, isn't it? Romero's the best backup keeper in the world. Let's play him in the FA Cup and the Europa League. I agree, I'd play De Gea, but we did this with Mourinho. Hi Mark, considering Fosu Mendes' performance against Palace, he should play an FA Cup in semis in CDM or centre defence position. Your views? Look, I'm more than happy. I think that's a great point. I'm more than happy to put forward. I mean, look, I nearly did it. I just thought it was fanciful. I'm more than happy to see Fosu Mensah playing at CDM on Sunday. In fact, I embrace it. I would love to see it. That's a movement I want to push. I want to see Fosu Mensah play at centre defensive midfield for United, because when you talk about heirs to Matic's throne or a player that can give Matic a rest, I'd love it to be Fosu Mensah, because he's got those. It doesn't mean he'd be good there. I can't guarantee that, but he's definitely got the attributes. This has been discussed on this channel and wider for probably 5 years. Fosu Mensah is a CDM. Like, he's quick, he's tenacious, he's quite decent on passing. I think as a CDM he could do it. He's strong. I'd love it. I just don't think Ollie will do it. I think the focus will be on West Ham. No need to sacrifice players for the Premier League, says Jack Melton. And can we chuck an injured Phil Jones into that team for Sunday and rest Maguire? Unfortunately, the FA Cup is not as important as it used to be, says Pav. Yeah, I agree with that. I do agree with that. I think that the FA Cup, to me, I remember the first FA Cup final I watched. I vaguely remember United in 85. I don't remember 86. I remember 87, Spurs against Coventry. I remember 88, Wimbledon against Liverpool. 89, I think, was Liverpool, Everton. 90 was obviously Manchester United against Palace. 91, Forest Spurs. 92, Liverpool Sunderland. And then 93, Arsenal Sheffield Wednesday. 94, United Chelsea. 95, United Everton. 96, United Liverpool. And then I stopped to forget. But I didn't read that because I'm an almanac. I remember my first 10 FA Cup finals from 87 through to 96. I remember them because it used to be a big event. It would be morning TV on BBC. They'd be talking about it. You'd go to the hotels. It was a massive day. And it's not a massive day anymore. It's not a massive trophy anymore. It just isn't. It isn't. And the reason for that is the Premier League and the Champions League and top four. That's what it is. But you can only live the life you live. You know, one day you like Marmite, the next you hate it. You can only live that life. And the FA Cup was a great thing. But for the youth of today, it's not a great thing. It's change. It's change. And is the FA Cup... Look, the Carabao Cup's not that important. It's nice to win. It's not that important. But when I think of the FA Cup, I think of Arsenal. I don't think of Manchester United or Liverpool or Manchester City. I don't think of Premier League trophies. The FA Cup, if you're going to win the treble, it's the third important one. The most important is the Premier League and the Champions League. So the FA Cup doesn't give you Champions League football. It doesn't give you gravitas. Wigan won it and they got relegated. So I'd like to win the FA Cup. I would. But do I value it? No. Whose fault is that? Not mine. I used to value it. A lot of us used to value it. It got devalued by the money that is in the Premier League and the Champions League. And that's not our fault. So I don't feel guilty for saying I'd rather beat West Ham than Chelsea. And that's a horrible thing to say. It really is. I'd rather beat West Ham in the Premier League and get 3 points than beat Chelsea in the FA Cup and get to an FA Cup final. That's bloody ridiculous. It is ridiculous, but it's true. And you know what? If somebody thinks different, fine. That's your opinion. I don't think it's any better than mine. Yes, Fozu sent defensive midfielder. Any thoughts on Bissaka past 2 games? Says Daniel Luciano. I don't think Wan-Bissaka's been good the last couple of games. You'll see that reflected in the chart show tomorrow. But I still think he's our player of the year. What about Fosu Mensah as CDM and play a diamond? This will allow us to rest Rashford, says Yab Vebath Bossal. I would. I would like to do that. John G14 says, why can't we do both? Well, look, that's the ideal. We beat Chelsea, we beat West Ham, we beat Leicester, and we win the Europa League. That, you know, I don't think anybody sat here going, I don't care about the FA Cup, I want to get knocked out. If that's the message people are taking, I apologise about that. That's not what I mean. That's not what I mean at all. What I mean is that I want to win I want to win the FA Cup. I want to win the Premier League. I want to win the I want to win the top 4 cup. And I want to win the Europa League. But in priority, I don't want to jeopardise getting in the top 4 by exerting our efforts and our better team against Chelsea. But of course I want to win on Sunday. I do want to win. But is it the priority over the next week? No. We've got 3 games in 7 days. Chelsea Sunday, West Ham Wednesday, Leicester Sunday. And they're not just games of football as well. There's a lot of mental pressure on those games. These are, effectively, you're playing tournament football. And that's very, very different to just playing run-of-the-mill games in November with a home game against West Ham. There's a lot of pressure on this game. There's a lot of mental baggage that the players have got to take in, and that tires you out as well. For CDM, ball playing versus destroyer or hybrid, says Oni Yakobu. And Harold Holst says, Man United aren't Liverpool. Man United tried to win everything, not just the youth due to vacation. I want to rest players, but I don't think the rest that many. Pogba and Anthony Martial play. Adam says, I know this is completely irrelevant, but how is Sane already training with Bayern even though he's still under contract with City? Just curious. I've got no idea. I don't know how he was announced before that either. It's just it must be an amicable thing between City and Bayern. Wayne List says, if McTominay, Fred, James, Agallo, etc. get 90 minutes under their belt against Chelsea, it gives them a chance to gain match sharpness should anything happen. Yes, again, Ollie, yeah, I agree. Sean from Ireland says, hi Mark, I would rest Maguire. I think his form is off because he's tired, and why wouldn't he be? He never gets a rest and it's hurting him. I don't know. I don't understand that. I don't understand why Harry Maguire plays so much football, really. I'm sure he wants to. I used to be like that. I'm sure a lot of you were like that. You never want to be rested. You never not want to play. I mean, I remember as a 16-year-old lad, we'd had a bad winter. A lot of games got called off. I played Saturday football, Sunday football, and for my school team. And from probably April till mid-May, I was playing Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday matches because there were so many to play, and I ended up with shin splints, but I wouldn't stop playing. I loved it, and I think Harry Maguire's like that. It's down to the coaches and the managers to rotate the team. I think there's a massive onus put on Harry Maguire, and they don't want to rest him. I think we're going to rest our team too, but to be honest, our squad depth is greater than yours, but I can't predict result. Would be great game to enjoy, says Vedant. And West Ham is a real threat. Look at their recent results. Antonio has discovered some impressive form, says Even Donson. Well, it spins again, doesn't it? Because we want West Ham to win so that they're safe on Wednesday, but then they're actually playing really, really well at the moment. So they could be a threat in that sense. They are playing well. What impact will Agallo have against Chelsea this Sunday, says Desert Haunter. I think Agallo needs service if he plays. That's the sort of player that he is. Kinky says, what do you think about a 4-4-2 diamonds? That would help us rest Matic and not get overrun in the midfield. I don't know. I mean, look, if we're gonna if you're gonna pick that team on the left, then can that team it's not the first team, is it? So, you know, is Ighalo Martial? No. So maybe you can play a different way. FA Cup is Champions League trophy for Arsenal, says Rahul. They're going out tomorrow night. This isn't an Arsenal channel, but look, let them dream for tonight. PMV Patrick, thanks for the super chat. Top 4 is the priority, says Mark Jones. And look, I'm not even going to ask that question of anybody. I know if I said, what's the priority? Is it the Champions League or winning the FA Cup? I know people will say the FA Cup just so I read them out. I've done that sort of thing before. But I don't think, seriously, anybody wants to win the FA Cup over getting Champions League football. 442 says Red Moon. Don't know what that means. I know what the channel is, though. It's good. And top 4 is the priority, Mark Jones keeps saying. Do you think we should sign Zaha, says Rohit? No. And why does my message keep repeating, says Philip Parr? I don't know, maybe because you keep typing. Looks like Lingard and Jones are off to West Ham next season, says Ishak. I hope so. Be a good little bit of money for us. And what do you think of signing Decore if they get relegated? No, I don't actually want to sign players who've been relegated. Unless it's like Roy Keane at Forest when we bought him, who was clearly world class. I do not want to buy players from relegated clubs. Warrior Fellaini says Declan Rice plays like a one-legged man working at IHOP. I don't know what fans see in him. And I'll be annoyed, says Lynn Hall, if Bruno Maguire and Matic, Pogba or Rashford play more than 25 minutes versus Chelsea. Would be self-destructive of our top 4 chances. And I do think that, look, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for me is learning a lot as Manchester United manager, and we've seen that. But one thing that we did see, look, this season is defined by 2 parallels. Up until January in that Burnley game, that was awful, and Ollie probably deserved to get the sack. Since that Burnley game, this has been the Solskjaer that we thought we were getting. So there's 2 very different managers there, and there's 2 very different results, and there's 2 very different movements of positivity and negativity. When you look at before Burnley, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Marcus Rashford's carrying an injury. He brings him on against Wolves in the FA Cup and he gets a bad injury that would have kept him out for the season if it wasn't for coronavirus. He didn't need to do that and he did it. Against Rochdale, back in the autumn, in a Carabao Cup game at Old Trafford, he played Paul Pogba with an injury for 90 minutes. Paul Pogba was out for a very long time after that. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has shown a weakness, or whatever you want to call it, to overplaying players to try and get results. That's not a problem in the right sort of game. But this, for me, is not the right sort of game to risk exhaustion, injury, when you've got 2 cup finals against West Ham and Leicester. What people don't realise is if we beat West Ham, and even if Leicester and Chelsea lose, if Leicester beat us on the final day and Chelsea beat Wolves, we still might not get top 4. So beating West Ham, as essential as it is, doesn't mean anything if we go and lose to Leicester. So we've got 2 cup finals that are more significant than this Chelsea game in my mind, and there has to be squad rotation. And I think what that other fan said is absolutely spot on. If you do play some of these fringe players and they get 90 minutes under their belt, whether we win or lose or draw or whatever, and then against West Ham Pogba pulls his hamstring and Bruno gets sent off, at least McTominay and Fred have had a full 90 minutes against Chelsea. So you can use this quite intelligently. Jordan Turner says, can I be a mod, please? I'm as loyal as you, your dog. That's not how it works, mate. JKT69 says, hi, Mark. Do you have any news about Shaw? He's been mint in the games before his injury. Tomorrow morning, we'll be reacting to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's press conference. Tune in for that. I'm sure we'll be talking about injuries. I don't think it's as bad as people might think. I think him and Brandon Williams are close to being fit. Do you really think you can get Sancho for less than 90 million when Dortmund really don't need to sell even with the pandemic, says Sam. So if you tuned in a little bit late, there is a significant Jadon Sancho update from Simon Stone, who's tier 1 BBC journalist, doesn't talk unless he knows what the score is, really, to be honest. And he said that Dortmund are adamant that they don't want to take anything less than £100 million. They won't take things like 80 million with add-ons. They want the £100 million. Jadon Sancho's on 190k a week and he's got 2 years left on his contract, and they feel that puts them in a strong position. I don't think it does. I don't think it puts them in a strong position. They're paying 190 grand a week for somebody who doesn't want to be there, and if they want to drag it out till September, we can do that, and they're paying nearly $1 million a month for that, so that's up to them. Jadon Sancho, I don't think wants to be there until he comes out and says that he does. I don't think he wants to be there, so I don't think that puts them in a strong situation. And I think Manchester United haven't started negotiating yet, so £100 million is probably the starting figure. We'll move down from there. I think that's what Dortmund are trying to do. And as I said, I genuinely think Dortmund need to, they don't need to, but I don't think that it's... I don't appreciate their stance on this, and I'm sure they don't give two hoots about what my stance is on this, but there's two things for me. One, we've been through a global crisis that nobody's ever seen before, and that has to impact on figures. It does. Jadon Sancho, if we'd never had coronavirus, pay £100 million. We've had coronavirus. You cannot demand £100 million. If I was Jadon Sancho's agent, I would be saying, look, we've given you 2-3 years, you bought him for 10 million, you were going to get 100 million, that's fine, but we've had a global pandemic. It's impacted lots of things. You cannot seriously treat us like this. You think you're in a strong position and we're going to stay here happily for 2 years when you're demanding ridiculous amounts of money. I would be saying that. If I was Jadon Sancho and I wanted to leave, I would be saying to Dortmund, hold on a minute. You bought me for 10 million. I really appreciate the opportunity. I'm never going to forget it. But you're gonna get 8-9 times what you paid for me. And I want to go. So let me go, be realistic. You're still getting very good money. What are you going to do? Make me stay here because you're not getting 100 million. Take 85 and let me go. So, look, if Sancho wants to go, those conversations will take place. What are Dortmund going to do? There's United with 85 million quid saying we'll give him 85 million. There's Sancho saying I want to go. What are Dortmund going to go? No, we're not taking that. We want 100 and Jadon, you're staying here for the next year. That's going to work out really well, isn't it? I just think it's the start of the negotiation process. And I think the fact that Simon Stone's talking about it shows you that United are definitely interested, which we knew anyway. So I'm not changing my stance. I'm 8 out of 10, 80% sure that we will get Jadon Sancho. I think it's a symbolic signing for Manchester United. I think they have to make this signing, and I think it will happen. So there you go. Just finally on the Leeds thing, I said I would come back to it, but it's all about process. It's all about flow to the show. So I'm very happy that Leeds are getting promoted. There is a big rivalry between Manchester United and Leeds. A lot of it's to do with location, and I don't pretend to know loads about this because it's not. I'm a global Manchester United fan. Manchester United are a global football club. Liverpool are my biggest rival because when I was growing up, Liverpool were a great team. Liverpool have won a lot of trophies. I'm not from Manchester. If you live in Manchester, Man City might be your biggest rival because that's a local rivalry. Liverpool are my biggest rival, and Manchester United are a global football club, and no fan of this club is any better than anywhere else because they were fortunate enough to be born 5 minutes down the road. It doesn't make you a better fan. You're just a fan of this great football club, and that's how this football club runs, and it's run like this. My granddad's from Nottingham. He was following Manchester United in the 50s, like a lot of people were following Manchester United in the 50s. So why in 2020 have we still got some people telling you you're not as good a fan because you're not from Manchester? That's a load of bollocks. And lots of Manchester United fans will tell you that who are from Manchester as well. It's just a silly minority. We're all part of this football club, and we're all as valuable as anybody else. So that's one thing. So I don't actually understand it's the War of the Roses, isn't it? That's Leeds and Manchester, and there is a big rivalry there. But for me, from what I saw of this rivalry, it goes back to early 70s. Obviously, Leeds were very good then. It's a very big rivalry. A lot of it's to do with locality. And obviously, they're going to get promoted. And I'm all for it. I'm all for it because if you tell me, do I want Bournemouth in the Premier League with its 11,000 capacity, or do I want Leeds in the Premier League with their rivalry? And, it's going to be another Chelsea. It's going to be another Arsenal. It's going to be another Liverpool. Those two games will be two more games that we look forward to. It makes it harder for us. But I want it to be harder. Leeds will be up for us more than anybody else. It does make it harder for us, but bring it on. Zane says we used to be a biggest rival. Says he weren't our biggest rival. There was a big rivalry there. It's the best Premier League rivalry was Arsenal and United in the late 90s, but Liverpool have always been our biggest rival in my mind. Jay Lingardino says Jay Ling's over Dan James. Right, I think we've covered everything. I'm going to go and have a beer. I'm running a bit late tonight. Are you sure biggest rival isn't Arsenal, seeing as you talk about them all the time, says Joshy. We would get Sancho and Saul Niguez, says Nathan Ducky. You know why Arsenal get spoken about? Do you know why Arsenal get spoken about? Because people who are Arsenal fans come on a United fan channel and make super chats. So I'm not a rude person. So we talk about Arsenal a lot because you're in our super chats. So I have to talk about it. And you get spoken about as a lot because you've got a pantomime as a fan channel who shout loud all the time, making you look like a bunch of prats. So Arsenal gets spoken about by a lot of people because Arsenal fans can't shut up. If you shut up and stayed quiet, you wouldn't get spoken about. That's pretty much why you get spoken about, because you don't shut up and you're not good enough to shout about yourselves. That's why you get spoken about. We've got plenty to talk about on this channel and we enjoy talking about it. Thanks everyone for watching. Smash a like on the video. We are back tomorrow morning with Ollie's press conference reaction at 10:30. The chart shows tomorrow as well. The 8 o'clock shows tomorrow as well. And then Sunday, it's another watch along. Get in the comments, smash a like on the video, subscribe if you're new. Have a good evening. I'm off for a beer. Speak to you in a bit.